Okay, so we're obviously all about creating better sleep for you, and I thought I'd just initially outline what is sleep and the different phases of sleep, if those of you who are not aware of them. We have light sleep, deep sleep and REM sleep, and I'm going to go into a little bit more information because when you understand the functionality of your different phases of sleep, you'll understand why the cycling of these phases is important, but how long each cycle is and how often you do cycle throughout the evening. So first of all, what we're going to say is your light sleep, this is your first part of your sleep. So obviously when you lie down and go to bed, your light sleep is when your body relaxes, okay? So you're lying in bed, what's an average time period to go to sleep would be 5 to 10 minutes, and then you're going into a light sleep. Your next part of your sleep would then go for a deep sleep. Now this is crucial because this is when your body repairs. So those of us who would like to do exercise or some yoga or Pilates throughout the day, this is the time when your body's going to repair any wears and tears in your muscles and rejuvenate yourself. So important for your immune system. So if you are sick or unwell, this deep sleep is really quite important, and we've got strategies to help you with that. A growth hormone uplift, and probably the last bit I put in there was fat burning. Who would imagine when you're asleep you burn fat? How many of us know in the room we don't get a good night's sleep, we put on weight? I mean, this is the first reason why when you don't get enough deep sleep, it's because you miss that fat burning part of your sleep cycle. Now, obviously the finale is the REM, that's your rapid eye movement sleep. And for many of us who are familiar with REM, it's when we dream and repair and recall dreams. So it's your mind repairing itself. It's whatever you did throughout the day. It's taking it to a permanent memory, short-term memory. It's your dreams, but where I see it from obviously an integrated practitioner, it's rebalancing our neurotransmitters and our hormones. So everyone's aware of neurotransmitters for depression or when we're not happy and any mental illness. This is that part of the sleep that if you aren't happy or you're suffering from anxiety, I know your REM sleep is not optimal. So we can talk about strategies there. Right at the end, the last one, fat burning. The REM sleep, even though it's the shortest duration, has the most fat burning of all. So we can give you a few strategies there. So what do we classify as good sleep? Obviously the cycling of those three phases is paramount, and you do need to do them several times throughout the evening, and they'll happen at different times. So if you ask me when's my deep sleep, I'd expect to see that between 11 p.m. and 3 a.m. and it's got to be cycling through there. And my REM sleep, probably the best in the mornings between 3 and 4. So this is the first shift and sign we see for shift workers, why they suffer with weight gain, circadian rhythm changes, and it's all about this REM sleep. So what we're looking for good sleep, we're looking for a good 7 to 8 hours. We're looking to go to bed by 9 p.m, resting, falling asleep by 10, and then waking before 6 or just on 6. And obviously it's the quality of sleep, and that's each phase and the cyclic of them. So first of all, what do we miss with poor sleep? The first one, and I'm focusing on this because the majority of clients I see in my practice, when I say what are your 3 wishes to achieve optimal health, invariably 80% of people come in and say they say it's weight. So obviously I'm going to talk about the weight part of sleep as part of a focus and fatigue. So the first one is calorie burning. Obviously if those 2 periods of your REM sleep and your deep sleep are missing, you can see you miss that opportunity of calorie burning. So when we get back on, I'll talk to you some strategies of how to improve those REM sleep and the fat burning every night. But what's next? Obviously the first thing is the fat storage. So when you miss those phases of your sleep, your body's innately going to store fat far more readily than burn it. And that's what we don't want. So often I have a client who presents and weight is a big issue and they're not shifting weight, and they say to me, oh God, I'm getting 10 hours sleep at night, and then we've got to look at the quality of sleep. So if we can improve the quality of sleep, therefore we'll go into more of a fat burning phase and obviously reduce their sleep or improve their sleep and reduce their stress. Okay, where I left that at the last bit was about stress and the consequences of stress on reducing your REM sleep and your deep sleep, and then the effect on your health. Okay, so what I'm going to first of all talk about is what is stress and then how do we manage it. So the first thing is when we're stressed, the first thing our body would do is actually improve or increase the amount of cortisol. And cortisol really has disastrous effects on our health. So obviously cortisol affects stress. So we're going to talk about what does cortisol do. So when cortisol rises, the first thing it does is it breaks down your existing muscle. And many of you forget that. So obviously a general client of mine talks about weight, and first of all, we lost our fat burning phase because we're not sleeping well. The second thing when cortisol rises is we actually break down our muscle. Now the first thing is people into longevity, and certainly my training is all in anti-aging medicine. You must maintain good muscle. So we always talk about how to maintain good bone structure, bone density, and increase our muscle mass at all time. So what I'm sort of relaying to you, when you're stressed, the first thing you do is break down your own muscle. That's not a good thing. And this, obviously less muscle, you have the less ability to burn your calories. So you sort of have this negative cycle upon each other. You're breaking down your muscles, so you've got a lower metabolic rate. You're less sleep, therefore your cortisol rises. So you sort of enter this sort of perpetual cycle, which can be really disastrous to your health. So what we want to do is we want to slow your metabolism, lower your stress and lower your cortisol, and bring up your melatonin. So you can imagine that's the double whammy effect on your weight. The other thing I get concerned about with what sleep does and what it sabotages is your sex hormones. So as women in the room, we all know progesterone, estrogen are our main sex hormones. For the men, we have testosterone. The more stress you have, the more cortisol, the less sex hormones you have available, because your body will innately go ahead and make a thing called the sex binding hormone globulin, and that takes away, Pac-Man's all up your free hormones, so therefore you end up looking clinically like you're in menopause state. You may not be, but you actually don't have a lot of free hormones available. Now I don't know about you, but I'll tell you the two things I love about sex hormones is they are vitality, they are warmth, they are our health. So, often when I'm consulting with a client, my challenge with you is to make sure you have optimal hormones, and certainly sex hormones is one of them. And it doesn't have to be high levels, it just has to be optimal for you as an individual. And they have to be balanced. So obviously if I've got high stress, high cortisol, my other hormones aren't balanced. And then probably the last thing, talking about weight, is appetite malfunction. So there's two hormones we talk a lot about with weight. It's leptin and it's ghrelin. There's so much research on there now. And these are things, what happens is, these are the proteins and hormones that tell me, leptin says, I'm full, stop eating. The other one is the ghrelin that says, okay, slow down. So these hormones get dysregulated. And so when they're out of whack, when you're eating throughout the day, I often get a client saying, oh, I never get hungry. Automatically, alert, 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 those two hormones are out. Or someone says, I'm always hungry, I'm always hungry. Okay, so that's not normal. What is normal? A true anti-aging diet is you wake in the morning, you eat breakfast, and you should be able to sustain that for 12 hours. So at 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. Now, I'm not saying that's what every dietitian, nutritionist is wanting you to hear this evening, but that is really what paleo has bred us to do. But what we need to be able to do is manage that over 3 meals a day, and healthy ones. Okay, so that's a little about what we do about weight, and I sort of focus on initially because I often get it regularly. The first tip I have, and this is obviously going to come from a hormone perspective, and that's melatonin. I love melatonin. I love melatonin because when we get stressed and our cortisol rises to the occasion, the first hormone that disappears is melatonin. And you do not have to take notes, you know what, it's only interested. Melatonin is a hormone that improves those phases of sleep. Okay, so I said the last two phases was the deep phase and the REM. Melatonin improves both of those. So as a clinician, if I can give you a low dose melatonin when you are stressed, I know they're going to improve, and I know you're going to get a better quality of sleep. Melatonin is not a hormone that knocks you out, okay? It's a relaxer. Yes, you feel relaxed and you'll get into a deeper, a longer journey, better sleep pattern, but it's not like a Valium. It doesn't knock you out, and it's not intended to.
Lou, we've been doing obviously a lot of research on sleep, but one of the things that this sleep doctor that we are doing some work with is talking about melatonin, but the fact that it can't be unprescribed. So don't go off just taking melatonin
willy-nilly?
Yeah.
And no, that's so true. Right. So one of the charts I've got is actually, which you'll all get a copy, so we might print a few slides off so people can go home with them, is that melatonin is very individualised on you and the dose we give you. So I would ideally like to, if I'm giving a low dose melatonin, for example, someone initiating or someone for jet lag, I'm quite comfortable to use 0.5 milligram knowing that that's not a dose that's sort of any detrimental to health and it's going to improve sleep. Ideally, I'd love to do your hormone level. So I do it first thing in the morning. Why first thing in the morning? Because if you don't have enough melatonin first thing in the morning, I can get a sort of good reflection of where it was throughout the night. So about 3 in the morning, your cortisol starts to rise, and about 5 or 6, it's coming higher. About 10 in the morning, it's peaking. At the same journey, melatonin's declining. Okay, so if you ever wake up and you feel a bit groggy, the best thing you can do is jump into the sunshine, get the bright eyes and your light, and your melatonin will go away pretty quickly. So with melatonin, one of the slides I've got here is when we dose it, we dose immediate and slow release. There's two ways. We can do sublingual or in a capsule. Everyone's different. It's when you are waking in the night. So if you're having a regular waking period at 2 and 3 in the morning, it would be easy for me as a clinician to say, well, look, slow release is your best option. It's going to last longer, it's going to give longevity. Or if you're someone who just cannot fall asleep and just stressed, sometimes the sublingual melatonin is just enough to relax you, to knock you off and get you going to sleep better. So melatonin is a hormone I do love. It's certainly made in your body every day. You get it from your diet, you make it from eating amino acids, tryptophan, 5-hydroxytryptophan are the main two. So someone says, well, why can't I just make my own? You can. But I'll tell you the one reason why you don't is because as we age, we get low stomach acid. As we age, we go to our doctor and they put us on protein pump inhibitors, which inhibit stomach acid. As we age, we get high blood pressure, we get less stomach acid. We drink alcohol, we have coffee. All these things reduce our stomach acid. So when I sit down to have a protein-rich meal, and for all the vegetarians in the room, yes, beans is your best source of tryptophan and 5-hydroxytryptophan. If you're not breaking it down and getting it available, well then you're never going to rebuild your melatonin. So therefore, often we might just start on better digestive health. Get your enzymes working, getting what you're eating become more medicinal for you, and then you can build your own amino acids. So that's how you can make your own melatonin.
Hey, Mary Lou, so how do you, what's the best way to test it? If you're saying test it in the morning, is it a wee or blood or?
Well, that's a great question. We can test it 3 ways. We can do a blood test first thing in the morning. We can do a salivary test, and you could do that as you go to sleep, or then if you wake up during the evening, or a wee test. I am actually far more favourable of urine tests now because I get the metabolites. So sometimes a hormone, your body will break down. And sex hormones are broken down to many different stages, and melatonin is probably not one of those hormones that has many breakdown cycles. However, if you have a poor liver function, it might become a sticky, annoying hormone. And I'll give you an example of a patient where it might happen. You start melatonin therapy, and it's a very small dose, but you wake up and you feel like someone's just donked you on the head. And I often feel this, and the first thing I say to them is, you really have poor liver function, you're not breaking that hormone down well at all. And therefore we might bring the dosing down earlier in the day like we would do for when you're travelling internationally. So that's okay because melatonin, remember, is not knocking you out straight away as a sleep sort of therapy. It's just relaxing you and getting your circadian rhythm back. So does that answer that question?
Yeah, so do you do the kit here? Do you sell a kit and then you just take it home with you?
Yeah, totally. So if I was going to do a urine analysis on melatonin, you get a little blotting paper, you wee on that. So often if I'm going to do melatonin, I'd like to do cortisol because I think that tells me how bad your sleep and stress is as well. And if you're a female, I often say, let's do all your sex hormones while we're there, and for guys. So we could do testosterone, progesterone, estrogens, all your metabolites, and see if they're in harmony. So see if they're balanced.
Wouldn't the cortisol levels change though from day to day? It all depends on the stress you're under. Cortisol. Couldn't it?
Yeah,
definitely. Bad one day.
Generally, as a rule of thumb, when you're stressed, it will grow and it'll keep staying high regularly. So stress, everyone's stress tolerance is variable and individual to you. So how resilient am I to deal with my stress? Like if I had been through a divorce or a death of the family, my cortisol might have to sit high for a really long time to deal with the jet lag of what's happened. It might be something so simple of having a fight with one of the kids in the morning, my cortisol rises and that's going to drop. Yeah. But continual stress is so damaging because the cortisol just sits there. But this is what your body does to it. Your kidneys then tune on it after a while and they flick it onto cortisone, which is inactive. So if I just did your simple cortisol, I'd go, wow, that's high. But if I did your metabolites, I'd go, wow, it's inactive. Yeah. So it's a bit that tired and wired sensation. So yeah, you've got it, but it's dysfunctional. Mm-hmm. So that's why I do like the urine testing, and it's called Dutch testing, and it's dried urine, and you can take it home. You don't have to go to pathology. All the urine testing now for hormones is not covered by Medicare, and we are seeing less and less tests covered by Medicare. So what would you do? $250 would give you a full circadian rhythm of all your cortisol, all your melatonin, and your sex hormones. And it's quite effective because that's once a year, and you can redo it in a year's time. So is that a good on the testing? Any more questions? Any of you at home? I suppose tip 2, let's move on. The first one I love is avoid sugar and processed carbs. So I'm going to bring in the dietary tip because, it's small. I know, throw out the chocolate bars. Okay, why do we do that? When I spoke about the sleep cycle and melatonin generally, what happens to your simple sugars, and these are your carbs and your chocolate bars and all your simple sugars. What they do is they call a sugar spike, okay? So what that does to your pancreas is it tells it to make more insulin to deal with the sugar that's rising. So the insulin goes, oh, quick, I've got to meet the match because I've had a big dose of sugar. And all of a sudden what happens is you then get a less effect in, it's sort of a crash again of your sugars. And what happens, you get lethargic and drowsy. And when I have a client who says, oh, I eat lunch and I want to curl up in a ball, the first thing it says to me is you're insulin resistant, okay? Your insulin is not functioning well for you. So we need to start working on improving that insulin resistance. However, what you could do is remove all the simple sugars out of your diet. So what is a great diet? It's obviously nothing white. No white bread, no white sugar, no white rice, white's gone, okay? No chocolate and no simple lollies, they're just gone, they're simple sugars. Low GI foods is where you should be eating, so a lot of beans, a lot of legumes, quinoa. I love black beans, everyone talks to me about I love black beans, I love black beans. Anyway, so why? It improves your metabolic rate and it stops those sugars doing this and it stops your body getting fatigued when it shouldn't be fatigued. One of the questions I had from a client just today was, well, you know, when I'm tired, can I go have a nap? Okay, that's a great question, but it's not for everyone. You need to know why your body wants to have a nap. Now, if you're out dancing the night before and you are physically exhausted, please have a nap, okay? But if day on, day out, you're getting to 2 in the afternoon and we've taken all the sugars out of your diet and you've sorted and you've got a really good comprehensive sort of low GI food diet and you're still getting that afternoon, I've got to go fall asleep, then we're going to investigate more, okay? And that nap is not for you, okay? What we need to do is support your adrenals and get you through the afternoon and get your sleep hygiene and your routine back in action and get better quality of sleep. Because if you're that person, if you have a nap, you actually do more detriment to your circadian cycle. So, on that note, let's go to tip 3, and I think this is a tip from all the people speaking this evening. So we've got, obviously, Shay and talking after me is going to probably mention this, but avoid alcohol and caffeine at night. I should say just avoid altogether, but I'm just going to put it at night. I think that's a no-brainer. I also put in there a few tips if you are going to have a glass of wine at night. I do love N-acetylcysteine or glutathione because it mops up the damage after it. So if you're someone who says to me, you know, I often talk to clients and I say, look, I go by 5 and 2, 5 days off the alcohol, 2 days on. And there's no more than 3 standard drinks a week, so you can monitor when you have them. This is if you truly want to improve your sleep. So what happens if I've got that one night and I've got my glass of red or champagne, then N-acetylcysteine and glutathione is fantastic. It sort of mops up the scavenging effect of what alcohol does. Caffeine, look, I think the research with caffeine now, it is so genetically variable. You are born with a set of genes, and one of the genes, if you have a gene variant called a comp gene, is that you can't deal with caffeine metabolism. And most people will tell you, they say, oh yeah, I'm the person who has a cup of coffee and I'm awake at 3 in the morning. It's like, bingo, you've got a gene variant, meaning that comp enzyme's there, or it's deficient. So meaning don't have coffee, it's your alert, it's your food telling you that that's not for you. Some people say to me, oh, I have 10 a day and I sleep like a baby. Well, I haven't got any problems, okay? What we know for the person who had caffeine, 10 cups a day and slept like a baby, they get cardiovascular benefits from caffeine, so they should have it. Maybe not 10 cups, but having 2 or 3 is a good thing, it's a good food for them. It's not good for the person who has 1 cup and is awake all night. So do you want to know your genes? A lot of patients come into me now and they've gone online and they've ordered their 23andMe or their smart DNA test, and yes, it's out there and it's all private paying. Google it. What do? We just see where nutrition best suits your genes, and that's a classic example. And what I can take away when I see someone's got a comp gene enzyme deficiency, the first thing, and for the ladies in the room, that means you don't metabolize estrogen well. That means when you go through menopause, you're the person sitting in front of me putting on 5 or 10 kilos. So if I knew that 10 years ago, we could prepare you for it and go, well, okay, what do we need to do to support you on this journey? So that's the caffeine and alcohol. The tip 4, and this is what I love, is balance your female hormones, and they mean for men too. Okay, progesterone. Progesterone is our master nurturing, calming hormone. When we go through certainly perimenopause, when progesterone drops, or PMS in young girls, or polycystic ovary disease, any young girl on an oral contraceptive or a Mirena, you have no progesterone. You actually destroy all your natural nurturing hormone. So does it mean I recommend that you go on progesterone therapy? Not necessarily. It means that let's rebuild it together. How do we naturally rebuild our own progesterone? I asked the girls to put out some maca powder today. It does wonders. It's a great food source to build progesterone. The other thing is good fats, okay? If most of us think, oh, doctor said I've got low cholesterol, isn't that good? Not if I'm building hormones. I want lots of good cholesterol on board and get them in the form of good fats. Even in primrose oil, flax seeds, they're all good things. And fish oils too. Another strategy might be, if your hormones are out of balance, is just lowering your estrogen. Why do we know about high estrogen? If we did the urine test, we would see your metabolites. And if there's a lot of bad metabolites hanging around and you've got the weight gain, you've got a bit of acne, you're just cranky with your husband, we'll just clear them out, and you do it really well with sulfanes, okay? Calciferous veggies. You've got your broccoli, you've got your cabbages. They really clear estrogens. Are you going to sit down to a bowl of broccoli every night this big? I'm not sure. Or you could take a capsule, and it's got diindolylmethane in it, and it works really well. And leading on that, I do love progesterone cream anyway, because a little bit of progesterone cream does wonders for our vitality and our bone density, and certainly for our sleep. If I'm talking to many doctors who, when they prescribe bioidentical hormones and someone is having a sleep issue, we automatically dose progesterone in a capsule. Why? Because by the time you absorb that capsule in your tummy, it's better than any sleeping tablet you'll ever take. It takes you straight to sleep. So we have a wonderful hormone that can be used as a sleep support as well as hormone replacement therapy.
You said progesterone cream.
Well, yes, progesterone's dispensed in many ways. Cream, capsule, sublingual. There's implants,
so just rub
cream on your body. Yeah, it's fantastic. So the dosage for progesterone is also varied. So if you did that urine test, we can say, well, hey, this is what you need. And it's not a big dose. So if we're doing transdermal progesterone, it would be like, on average, probably 50 milligram per gram, very low, going up to 200. We do the troches, little lozenges dissolve in your mouth, and a capsule would start at 50 milligram and go to 200. So they work very well. Would there be any reason I wouldn't give a progesterone capsule too? Is if your liver function wasn't great, because obviously I would hate it to sort of throw something off, and we would discover that when we did some workups. I'll ask you questions. Okay, tip 5. You've always got to eliminate if there's any sleep apnea or restless leg syndrome. And I'm not going to go much into sleep apnea because sleep apnea is a whole science in sleep itself, and there's a lot of sleep clinics out there which address CPAP and opening up breath airways. You can get mouth devices. And I think if you're a snorer, I think you need to investigate further. So you need to ask your partner or someone and say, look, is there any, or you're holding your breath, please investigate, and that's where those sleep centres do that beautifully well. What I am going to really focus on is restless leg syndrome, because many of you in the room have probably suffered it. And if you have, you're not probably aware that restless leg syndrome really kills that deep sleep cycle. So that repair, that neuron repair and mental alertness can really go quickly when you have restless legs. We know that restless legs is purely from a bad gut microbiome, meaning you're not really looking after your gut. I mean, you probably read a blog a day that most of your serotonin's made in your gut, most of your immune system's now your gut. I mean, so is restless legs. So when I'm talking to a client with restless legs, we want to fix their gut. We want to talk about eating fermentable food. I love my G-bombs, your raw garlic, onions, beans, these things which really help ferment in your tummy, and they're called prebiotics, and then we use probiotics after it. Okay, so that's sort of sorting out restless legs. Was there a question there? No. So for those of you who have high blood pressure, any family history of diabetes, restless legs is an early sign. So listen to your body. If your husband or partner says, God, you're kicking the doona off and you're twitching all night, that's restless legs. You may even know, you don't even know you've got it. Some people do wake up and feel like they've run a marathon, and they'll see that pillow of doona spread over here. Some people have no idea. But if you do and your partner's telling you, don't ignore it, because it's pre-signs for bad sleep and we need to look at it. Okay, why do we know, what do we do to also treat the restless legs? Because this is really important in integrative medicine. We talked about your gut. We're going to fix that with a good probiotic and get fermenting food. The one big thing I want to talk about is low vitamin D. Low vitamin D is definitely also a sign, and there's a lot of research to back it up with restless legs. We live in Queensland, but we still don't go in the sun at midday. I mean, if you look at any good sleep hygiene, I'm sure the girls might think, go in the sun at lunchtime and eat it and get a good half-an-hour dose of bright light. It does wonderful for your circadian rhythm, it uplifts your vitamin D, and they're all healthy for your immune system. But even better, to improve restless legs, do it. But I also want to talk a little about your B group vitamins. Restless legs also, with the bad gut microbiome, is often you get low vitamin D's being made and absorbed. Now we have had a wonderful, you don't want to have a regular oral spray. We do use a lot more oral sprays for vitamin Bs. We don't use oral tablets because they're water soluble and they don't get absorbed well. So if there's any question on Bs, it's Tuesday, you book online or through an app, and it's a great opportunity to do them. Iron. I don't know if you even thought about it, but fatigue, everyone goes, oh, you're low on iron. Okay, you probably even don't even go looking for it. Restless legs, poor sleep is low iron. So also could be a consequence, so go check your iron and we can help you on that journey. Okay, tip 6, reduce inflammation, or if you have some sort of immune dysregulation, that is what we call inflammation, let's deal with it, okay? If we can just reduce the inflammation in your body, how do we know? We can do some simple blood markers, or you can see yourself. You know, you've got reoccurring skin rashes, pimples, dark circles under your eyes, okay? You're not having a regular stool. These are all early signs of inflammation in your tummy. So obviously the extreme inflammation signs would be things like Parkinson's, Crohn's, Hashimoto's, rheumatoid arthritis. These are all things when you ignore early inflammation, they progress to autoimmune diseases, and we don't want that happening. So let's just look at the inflammation, and you can certainly get a big improvement in your sleep. Tip 7, exercise. I love exercise. It does improve your sleep, we all know it. Now I know we've got beautiful Kylie here finishing off with a little bit of a stretch and a yoga and meditation at the end, but I'm talking about every day getting your heart rate up, getting your body moving. If we've got a sedentary job or sedentary lifestyle, you need to move. And it's certainly proven that if you have a good dose of exercise every day, and outdoors preferably, you will improve your sleep quality. Now the last one is just a little bit on natural therapies, because obviously this is also where we can come into it with the compounding lab, is magnesium. It's my go-to salt for relaxation. We all lose it, we all have an acidic lifestyle, we don't retain it. So please, if you're not on a magnesium, please consider it to improve your sleep. It's easy, it's often in a powder, you just burst it and you drink it. What magnesium do I like? I do like magnesium glycinate. I also like these new conjugated magnesium. There's 2 amino acids we now conjugate with it, L-threonine and taurine. They rebuild melatonin, they rebuild all your neurotransmitters. So the more balanced you are with hormones, the better you sleep. And B3 vitamin. Now any of us who likes a glass of wine here, if you're going to bed that night, the other tip is please take 250 milligrams of B3. Why? Because it'll stop the alcohol having a bad effect on your sleep. It's a really simple strategy. Most women, if I speak to, they like a few wines, you give them a good dose of B3 at night, you fix their sleeping problems. Because all they're doing is they're losing it with the alcohol, with the diuresis
So
effect.
you get B3 in a tablet by itself?
You do, in a capsule.
Yes, they should put it in the alcohol.
They should actually. I
Someone
might
makes drops. You know those little drops you can buy from the wine shops? I
Yes,
wonder what
maybe we
they
should
are.
put it in that.
Maybe
That'd be
they're
great. You can put it straight on your tongue. Have you ever tasted these?
Oh, yeah.
They're nasty. You could, but I don't know if it'd make the wine taste any better. So look, on that finale I'm going to leave you with, we actually have come up, we often get inquiries from doctors of patients to get off medicine or how to improve their sleep in a natural way. I'm a big believer in amino acid therapy to support sleep, to obviously rebuild your own melatonin and to lower your own cortisol if that's why your sleep's poor. We put B3 in it. Okay, we put magnesium, B3, amino acids such as tryptophan, 5-HTP, glycine. These all rebuild it. How I like you to have it is you scoop it up and put it in a bit of yogurt, coconut milk yogurt preferably, and you have that half an hour before you go to bed. So I know nutritionally you've got a good dose of protein there, you've got a good bit of fat in the coconut yogurt, which is going to help you sleep, and yogurt we know helps you ferment and improve sleep anyway, and therefore we can improve that sleep cycle.